Coming up for Leading Second.
I think in ministry right now, we're too addicted to being big. I think we need to ditch that as a goal. I don't know about you. I'm not trying to build big ministry anymore. I want to build effective ministry. Something that is effective for the purposes of God.
For all those who serve on church teams, serving a vision bigger than themselves.
And if you are a pastor, and if you are a minister, and if you are a leader, and if you are a builder.
For all those leveraging their life for the cause of Christ.
I really only know you're all in until you don't get your way. It's the only way I can ever really know you're here for the vision. It's easy to come for a program. It's easy to come for a person. It's easy to come for a position. But I'm talking about the vision.
Posture of a second chair leader is this: I am blessed with everything and entitled to nothing.
Special guest Charlotte Gamble.
In order to step into our callings, we must step out of our comfort.
And Pastor Larry Bry.
We are going to expand it so that more people can come underneath the umbrella and meet Jesus as their Lord and Savior.
And he's saying, I've entrusted a moment to you. I've entrusted something to you. I've entrusted resource to you. I've entrusted opportunity to you. What are you going to do now with the opportunity I gave you to build my church and move the kingdom of God forward?
Leading Second Camp, February 25th and 26th, 2026, San Antonio, Texas. Register today at leadingsecondcamp.com. Welcome to the Leading Second podcast, a space to help church leaders thrive in the second chair. Today's conversation will help you embrace your calling, get it right with your pastor, and lead in an uncommon way. Let's jump in.
Well, Leading Second, welcome back to the Leading Second podcast. My name is Brandon Stewart. We are so excited to have you here for, I believe, a very important, very consequential two-part episode previewing Lead It Like You Own It. We're so glad you're here. And first of all, I want to welcome some of our Leading Second coaching team, some of our brilliant friends. Help me welcome Travis Marshall, the best voice.
Oh, mercy.
And wisdom. And our Spartan grandpa.
Come on,
is what we
grandpa.
call you at Leading Second.
Well, hey, everybody. I'm Travis. I come out of Dallas, Texas. From Christian World, and it's just an honor to be here, man.
Explain Spartan Grandpa. You're going to be a grandpa soon.
Yes, I'm going to be a grandfather next year, and I run Spartan races.
You've never seen so many medals on someone's office wall. He keeps it out of camera. He's humble.
Yeah,
keeps it out of camera.
I just want to be able to see
a season pass.
He has a season pass
to Spartan races.
To Spartan races.
Lead it like you own it. There we go.
I'm not planning to take ownership of that space in my life, just so you know. Jen Martin is here. We love you. Jen Martin, thanks for being on our team. Thanks for sending me that infamous email years ago.
Oh, gosh, yes. If I had only known then.
What we were going to make you
paused. Yes. I love Leading Second. Leading Second has changed my life. You and Lindsay are such a huge part of our life, a huge part of our church. And I believe in everything that Leading Second does. I'm super excited about the book. Congratulations on the book.
Well, and I blame your husband. He got me into this. He put me up to it.
That's the
He
truth.
did it first.
That's the truth.
And I'm glad I had him to bounce the chaotic moments.
Yes, it would have been really nice for it to be reversed, and he could have bounced things off of you instead of me for his book.
No, I needed him. I'm the weaker one here. I needed him to talk me off the ledge sometimes. You guys are dear friends. You're absolutely treasured voices to everyone you have coached in Leading Second. So I'm so glad you're here today. Joseph Kelley, welcome. I'm really glad I turned around at a youth conference in 2019 and said hello to you. And somehow you stuck around.
And here we are
for a lot of years
later. It's awesome. Yeah. It's been awesome to be a part of this for the past several years. And it's cool to even see the fingerprints of you and Lindsay and this ministry, even all over our church and our team now, and our team being a part of this ministry and, you know, saying things like, well, we've heard you teach that. We've heard you say that. And now the language of our church really sounds a lot like the language of this ministry.
That's great.
And so that's awesome.
Great. So today for this conversation, we are going to talk about the 6 enemies of ownership. We're just calling it that for this and the next episode, mind you, the 6 enemies of ownership. And a little bit of a preview, we're talking out of our coming soon book, Lead It Like You Own It. And the book is written around some shifts that we're asking every reader to consider making in their life to step forward in leadership and owning God's purposes and owning building his church, building the church, we would say, from anywhere on the team. Well, the challenge is shifts come because we take down some enemies, some lies, some things that we believe about leadership that aren't true. Some things that we have maybe become misguided in or misfocused in leadership. So that's what we're going to do here is just expose the enemies and expose the lies for where they are. Now, let me say this. If you want some organizational coaching here for a minute, John Cotter argues the idea that no change can happen outside of a culture with urgency. I just want to talk about this for a minute. A culture of urgency. What is urgency? Is urgency anxiety? Is urgency worry? Is urgency even an emotion at all, actually? I would argue that urgency is actually something much different than an emotion or something we feel. Urgency is simply what needs to change and why is now the time. What needs to change and why does it have to change right this second? That is urgency. And he argues that you will not change unless you arrive at urgency. So for example, think about your health. You either create urgency and get in the gym on January 1st and develop a conviction that my health matters, or Lord forbid, anyone gets sick and that creates urgency for you because you realize my health matters. So one of the two matters. So today we're actually just going to attempt to create some urgency. What are we getting wrong in the conversation? And then in the book, we will argue, of course, how we approach and how we solve some of those things. So are we good for that conversation today? Are we excited, dialed in?
Yes.
We're going to start today by talking about the leadership void. The leadership void. So if it's okay, I'm going to read a couple excerpts out of the book and share some thoughts that way. Then we're going to discuss, and we're going to start by talking about the first enemy. I'm going to call it the leadership void. The leadership void. And it says this: we're living in a time where leadership seems to be highly charged in the town square, yet oddly missing in our everyday lives. People who lead with a spirit of ownership are becoming increasingly rare. Everywhere you look, it feels like people are opting out. Responsibility is avoided. Commitment is treated like a burden. Joyful serving has been replaced with quiet quitting. Think about this one. A strong work ethic was once universally admired. Now doing the bare minimum is often the new normal. Sacrificial service has been traded for excessive self-care. I thought that's really interesting. We're comparing sacrificial service and self-care. An extra mile spirit is being replaced with self-protective boundaries. From your local coffee shop to most retail stores, the spark to serve is fading. You can feel it. Here's the last line. Our culture is clocking in, not buying in. I just think I'm proposing this idea that at large in our world we're living in a decline of leadership. Are you all seeing that?
Absolutely.
What's that looking like as you look around the landscape of our world? And here's the reason we're talking about it. The church isn't immune
Right.
to this happening.
Filters.
What are you all seeing with that?
There's this, what I see is this rise of, you could label it as simple as selfishness, but this idea of anything that I give, how does it benefit me in return? If there is not equal benefit to my investment, I see this quick response to withhold, to be limited, to be guarded, whether it's time, money, even just emotional buy-in, commitment to an organization, commitment to, even in our world, whether it's an idea or an organization, it's got to benefit me. I've got to be getting something back. And you talk about it in the book, right? This idea of sacrificial giving, like sacrifices where we've removed from our vocabulary culturally. And you're right. It has infiltrated the church world. I'm going to serve and I'm going to give if there's something attached to it on the back end. If it leads to personal gratification, if it leads to the spotlight being visible on a platform or being given new responsibility, or even just simple as getting recognition.
Hey, if you and your church are going to need any sort of building expansion, construction project, or something like that, then you're going to want to know about our friends at Goff Companies. Because I know from personal experience, the weight of trying to lead church teams and manage a construction project, from the design to the financing to the actual building part of it. And Goff Companies takes care of all that. They are local church guys, people who get the church, and their only focus is serving and building churches. So what I love is that they walk you from vision to reality. So they start to finish, they're gonna start with strategic planning so that your project actually fulfills the vision long term. Look, pastors pastor, designers design, construction crews construct. So let them do what they're best at so you can keep doing what you're best at. And if you're starting to dream about maybe what's next for your church, or you're starting to say, hey, we need more space, go ahead and start a conversation early with them at goffcompanies.com.
There's a national coffee chain that we would all know and mobile order from. I worked for them 25 years ago. Like the OG, the one without like the push buttons to pour the coffee. Like you tamped the coffee, you made the coffee. Yeah. We were actually encouraged to do what was called sliding to a different position. Like sliding over if the line was out the door, you know, to call the line, get drinks. We were encouraged to do that. Today, when you walk into establishments like that are really advanced and corporate, everyone like stays in their spot. Yeah. And you can have a line out the door, but this person over here is just gonna stay stocking the shelves because that's their job, is they're supposed to stock the shelves. It's like there's no initiative in leadership anymore. Right. And it's been declining for a while, but I think the last few years it's really declined.
Yeah, well, both of you have used a word just now, which is sacrifice or sacrificial. And I think that it's a word that feels real natural to us, and possibly because of my age, it's a little more natural. I think that for younger people in our churches and on our staff, or maybe even newer people to church life, they don't even understand really what that word means. And so sacrifice is viewed more as the expected, like, my job description, I'm sacrificing to come do what you've asked me to do. Right. Where we see that as just, that was the bare, is the normal. That was the bare minimum. Yeah. And so I think as you talk about, this book is going to be so amazing because I don't think people want to not think like an owner. I think that they don't really understand sacrifice. Yeah. Like, what does sacrificial serving mean? What does sacrificial leadership look like? I think the word sacrifice in and of itself is just crazy to our culture because of what you said. It's all about me and serving me and what feels good for me and what am I going to get out of it. And I don't think necessarily people don't want to sacrifice. They don't know how to sacrifice. Yeah.
Well, and I don't think all hope is lost here. Right. I think one of the reasons we're kind of trying to poke the bear here is just expose the issue. Yeah. But I would propose, and we say it in the book, I would propose hope is not lost here. This is actually a moment for the church to be counterculture. Right. Yeah. Imagine if people walk into our churches and experience something totally different. Yeah. Right. You've talked a lot about like the Ritz-Carlton book, over the years, and the idea of how they created a different level of service. Imagine if that was our church. Right. Maybe not the Ritz-Carlton, but if it was so counterculture, it actually took people's breath away.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Because as we argue in the book, Jesus, of course, was the original owner. He owned our sin.
Right.
And he sacrificed. He gave everything. So all of this is actually inherent to our faith. This is who we are as God's people. We're called to be owners. Jesus was an owner. So I think it's our rightful identity and our rightful place in culture.
Yeah, I'd like to throw this in. So I wonder how much distraction, just how pervasive and invasive it is. I mean, how many times are we on our phones and we see people scrolling and those sort of things? We're getting that dopamine hit in a different way rather than chasing a goal of being able to have something meaningful in life.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if that is sometimes zapping the energy or the desire to even go forward.
If people only see leadership as a title or a position or a job description, like if we limit leadership to just that, that's sort of the argument of this enemy. What's at stake? What will we lose if we just boil this whole thing down to titles, positions, roles, functions? Don't you think we lose something there?
You know, it's funny because that's what we all try to attain, right? Like the title. Like certainly
We're
that's
told
what,
it is the goal.
That's
Right.
what culture teaches us is this title. And you talk about the church being countercultural. Like we need to be countercultural to that. And I love it's like so when our pastors founded our church, we were there from the beginning. And so we have founders mentality. And we treat it like it is ours because we've nurtured this baby. So how do we teach that? How do we teach somebody that just came into a 23-year-old organization or 56-year-old organization? How do we teach them? It's not about the title.
Right.
Treat it like your baby.
Yeah.
This is your baby. Who cares where it takes you? And some of what I've read in the book, you have done this so well. And I think it's going to be brilliant in our churches and on our teams for us to teach.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not that people don't want to, it's that culture has told them it is all about the title.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. A couple things I want to say. I mean, number one, like think of the corporate world. That actually is the goal,
Right.
is to get a better title,
Climb the ladder.
Right.
versus the Bible principle is actually the priesthood of the believer.
Right.
That every believer is a priest, every believer is a ministry, every joint supplies. So therefore, I confidently can say anyone can lead. And by the way, I have seen this argument coming back. I think that was actually kind of a commonly accepted idea, but I've seen it coming back. People have started questioning me on that again. Romans 12, for example, lists leadership as one of the spiritual gifts. And I've actually had people begin to say that they actually don't believe leadership is for everyone.
Yeah.
And I just want to talk about that for a minute because I could argue the spiritual gift for leadership is not for everyone. I think there are some people that are graced by God to lead. And I think you can tell that about some people. I think you can tell for his purposes and for his reasons, he gives some people a gift of leadership. But I don't, when I look at theologically the priesthood of the believer, and I look at some of those concepts, every joint supplying, and in the book, we're talking about leadership as owners. And if that's the case, anyone can do this. Anyone can lead. And quite frankly, if we boil leadership down to the ones who look like leaders, or we can tell, we're going to miss so many great leaders in our church. I'll just tell a story. And this is not in the book, so I kind of now wish it was. I'm talking like now I'm wishing it was in there. There's a man in our church in Seattle area, Champion Center, the church that I grew up in. A couple named Dave and Terry Rich. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and they are now what my pastor would call our first kings. What that means is they're in the business world, and they have built a business literally to fund ministry. They give at substantial and extremely generous levels. But if you looked at Dave, and Dave would tell you this if he was here, If you looked at Dave, he is about the last person in a room you would expect would be leading the financial generosity of our church. I mean, Dave, and again, he would tell you this story. I'm not telling you something he wouldn't say. Dave was at a church to speak at the church at like their kind of legacy banquet dinner. He was following the pastor into the room, and the security team went and questioned him because they thought a homeless man was walking in behind the pastor. Legitimately, he is the last person. And imagine if what we view on the outside, man looks at the outside. Right. Imagine how someone would go, "That's not a leader,"
right?
And yet he's one of the most substantial leaders I've ever met. I mean, just think about that.
Yeah.
So I don't buy into this idea. Some people are, some people aren't. I think we got to push past that.
Right.
In my humble opinion to the body of Christ here.
Yeah.
Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things, especially when we talk about titles, is, and we talk about this in our organizational coaching, is that titles speak to function, not value.
Yeah.
And yes, we do need titles to be descriptive in function and to know how we contribute, because people need the clarity around their role. But it doesn't mean that they have more value to the organization. And I think all of us would agree, because we've all led teams of various sizes, that there are so many people that on paper, the function from the outside, we might not label it or think it as a major contributor, but every single person on our team, from the lead pastor preaching on a Sunday morning to the parking lot attendant out in the rain, every one of them has incredible value, not just to us, but to the kingdom. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting thing about leadership. As you mentioned, Travis, as we climb the proverbial leadership ladder in churches, the higher you are on the ladder is where we get into this conversation on why roles are so valuable. And then we get into this determining conversation of, well, this is a leader, this is not a leader, when somebody at one point in our journey might not have defined us as a leader.
You know what I want to do in the book is I want to take the ladder and chop its legs off.
Chop it up.
I'm so sick of the ladder.
Yes.
Because we don't want to breed discontentment with where somebody might be right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe anyone can lead anywhere, anytime, and actually hope that people would see the significance of their current seat.
Absolutely.
You know, in my own life, when I showed up at our church in San Antonio, and I think that the Moores were real excited about Matt. I don't think that the Moores, not that they weren't excited about me, but there was just like no obvious leadership ability or any ability to do much of anything, you know, that they were great. I was on the team, but what could I do? It was a big question mark, even for me. You know, I was willing to do anything. And my pastor saw something that I didn't see and no one else had seen, and he just started developing me. And it's crazy now when I look back, I see where he was doing that, but in the moment I didn't see that's what was happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you had looked from the outside, it would have looked like I had nothing to offer. I was Dave Rich.
That's funny.
But there was, in all of our lives, in all of our departments, in all of our churches, and all of our teams, there are those people. There are definitely people that are obvious. Like, you know, they literally are walking around with the target that says, I'm a leader. I mean, they're galvanizers. They gather people to them.
It's true.
There are also incredible leaders that are dark horses.
Yes.
That you have to mine for that. And so it's not always the obvious
Some of the most significant leaders in the Bible were reluctant leaders.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's just start straight with Moses.
Yeah.
They're just reluctant. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Pick someone else.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Pick someone else.
Which, by the way, we got to fast forward on your story, because when Matt reached out to me about being involved in leading second, I vetted it through your pastor. I called your pastor and I said, are you good with Matt being involved in this capacity? We do that for every single team member, every single volunteer. And your pastor's actual response was, Matt's good, but who you really want is Jen. So you definitely redeemed yourself on. That one.
You mentioned something a minute ago about you said the word significance, and I think you can look at Moses, you can look Old Testament, we can go New Testament, right? Parable of the talents, and I think where we get confused is
In the book, it's the parable of the bags of gold. By the way,
it is
bags of gold. Don't bury your bag.
don't bury the bag.
Oh, okay, I haven't read that chapter.
That's good.
And where
And it's the Bible, so
it is the Bible. Yeah. where we do see leaders with different capacity, it doesn't mean different significance.
That's right. That's
right. And we can't, like you say, there are some that walk around with that as a 5-talent leader. Like it is obvious there's a different amount of capacity, different amount of gifting, maybe a leader's spiritual gifting of leadership that they can bring to the table. But it is the faithfulness to whatever you have. Like the one with 1 talent had just as much opportunity to be successful, but it's the faithfulness with whatever you're given in leadership.
So we've kind of set the table with the leadership void, that leadership gets reduced to title or position, that people really aren't seeing themselves as leaders right now. I think that's a problem that we're going to need to address in our churches, and I think the stakes are high. Let's talk about the second enemy, which is what I'm going to call the ownership gap. The ownership gap. I'm going to read this excerpt from chapter 8 in Lead It Like You Own It. It says this: we're living in a generation that doesn't seem to own much anymore. Renting is outpacing owning in nearly every area of our lives. Car leases are often more attractive than purchases. More people are beginning to see renting a home as a long-term solution. Entertainment is now streamed, not purchased. No one has a DVD anymore, often borrowing someone else's Netflix password. Hello. My family has leased our phones for years, upgrading them before they're fully paid off and considered mine. The convenience of using Uber instead of owning cars can feel attractive. In many places, a gig economy has replaced entire careers for people. Our culture has made a way of life out of subscription and convenience. Listen to this: a culture where you can cancel at any time, stay as long as it benefits you, walk away when it doesn't. And this lack of an ownership mindset shows up in workplaces as record lows in employee engagement. Basically the idea here is, since the pandemic, we're actually seeing what's being dubbed the quiet revival. We're actually seeing a substantial increase in church attendance, Bible reading. A lot of those metrics are up, but serving and ownership are still being reported as pre-pandemic, at pre-pandemic levels. So ownership declined while the need. So remember, this whole idea of too few people doing too much is actually exacerbated since the pandemic because the ministry is growing, ownership is decaying. So we're just talking about the ownership gap. And I think what happens with the ownership gap is people view things really transactional as renters, and they view it, you mentioned this earlier, they view it through the lens of what benefits me, not what serves others.
Well, it's FOMO. There's going to be something better. Right. I mean, this whole subscription mentality is, and commitment phobia is, what if there's something better? I mean, think about when you send an RSVP out right now, which we live in a culture where that doesn't happen very often. But even for like your team night for, your church.
You're taking yourself off from something else.
Get a better offer.
They might get a better offer. You can't get them to RSVP. And so that is a mentality that it's a subconscious mentality. They're not even aware they're bringing into their staff or volunteer cultures in our churches.
Now, in fairness, ownership in the world is often for personal gain. Okay, in fairness, that is a worldly definition of ownership. Right. We bought a home in 2020 and we sold it in 2025. And part of the benefit was we got the equity. And that was a good time to own a home, and we got good equity. So ownership is viewed as personal gain. Yeah. You own it, you build a business to sell it. Eventually, that kind of thinking. So the world's definition of ownership is I own something to benefit me. Right. I own something because I want to possess. That's not kingdom ownership. Right. Kingdom ownership, we see in scripture, is actually about serving others. Right. Up to and including sacrificing for others. And so I think that's interesting. The Bible's definition of ownership is completely different. Here's my question again. What are the stakes for our churches if people approach ministry through the lens of what benefits me rather than what serves others? Right. We're going to get that wrong all day long.
Oh, absolutely. And it puts a greater weight on us as spiritual leaders to teach and train and to disciple right? People who are especially maybe new to faith to understand this concept. The danger I see is that we're building churches that may not be built to last.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we're building people that don't understand this concept, to your point, they may come and they may be a part of services and they may be a part of groups, but if they're not part of building something, there's an expiration date on how long this can sustain itself. And so there's got to be, that's where we have to see that as a responsibility then to respond. Otherwise, there's a date where this no longer can continue to carry on unless there's somebody to come and carry the legacy forward.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, as much as we all care and we take ownership over our roles and over our churches and our ministries, at some point it won't be us and it won't be our name and it won't be us in the role, and someone else has to be next. And so teaching leaders to not just own in the sense of taking responsibility, but own the vision, own the sacrifice, own the mission, own the future of where this can go, and take it personal and care deeply about it.
Jen, your story is really interesting, actually, to me, if we can circle back to it, because you and Matt were there on day one of NorthRock Church. I hope this is okay to say you invested, like you personally, financially invested into NorthRock. So you're the second chair and you have no qualms or like your second chair. You voluntarily second chair, but you have founder mentality. Yeah. But part of that is because you got skin in the game.
Right.
And so I think that's part of what makes you brilliant second chair leaders is your second chair leaders that are actually founders. The problem is 99.9% of us will never, we weren't there when it started.
Right.
So the challenge of leading it like you own it is having that ownership spirit when you weren't there on day one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to tell your story about that anymore, but to me, I find that interesting about you and Matt.
Yeah. We had worked for another church before we came and helped start NorthRock, and serving the church was something that was in us, but what that looked like, I don't think we were real clear on that. I think Matt probably more clear than me. Honestly, I never saw myself as being a staff member of the church. I've served the church my whole life. I love it. I believe in it. I've raised my kids to believe in it and love it. But I was in the marketplace. I saw myself as always being in the marketplace. Yeah. I had served in the marketplace, worked in the marketplace, saw a great opportunity that was going to be, financially beneficial in the marketplace, and that was the direction I was heading. We moved to San Antonio to plant this church, and I did not give up on this, but I was still very much bought into this. And God just began to work on me. I mean, there's no other word for it. And as I gave my life to something that I did not see financially benefiting me, it started to financially benefit me. Like the church began to grow and there was more money. And Pastor Jonathan said, hey, we would like to start paying you part-time. I mean, I think sometimes I tell our staff, I served here for years without a paycheck.
Right.
What you see now, I've been doing for years without a paycheck.
Yeah.
There was no money. I paid to come here. There was no money there was no paycheck when we showed up. And so this idea of sacrifice, we're going back to sacrifice, this idea of sacrifice, if we can, I think it goes all the way back to the cross, which this is not where this is supposed to be going. So if we need to edit this out, we can. But it goes, I don't know that people have a clear picture of the sacrifice of the cross. If we truly understood sacrifice, then we would understand that when you say, I am called to this church, whether it's volunteer or staff, it doesn't matter. If you say I'm called to this church, there's an element of sacrifice attached to that does not benefit me.
Not only is that something good to say, that actually is the message of part 2 of the book, is that Jesus was the first owner.
Am I in the wrong podcast?
No, Jesus was the first owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of mechanics on the book. Each part kind of has a hero to it. Nehemiah and Joseph and Daniel. Jesus is the hero of this part we're talking about. He was the original owner. He owned our sin.
Yeah.
and it didn't benefit him to leave heaven
Right.
and come to earth that he created. You know, he was the original owner, and he took sin upon him. It wasn't his sin, but he did it for our benefit. He did it so that we could be called the righteousness of God.
Yeah.
Right.
Scripture says. So, no, you're actually saying exactly what we're trying to say, is that ownership is rooted in the gospel. And not only is ownership rooted in the gospel, it fueled the early church.
Yeah.
The early church is full of owners. And we actually profile some of them in the book as saying, look at the extreme ownership of God's people. They didn't have a manual.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't have leading second. They didn't have conferences. They just owned it.
Yeah.
They didn't even
Viscerally.
know everything that we know.
No.
And they sacrificed
Right.
and gave for it.
Everything for it.
And so back to my story, I believed in it so much.
yeah.
And I will say, when you can attach to a vision and a mission, like I am sold out to people in San Antonio knowing about
Knowing
Jesus. I
Jesus,
will
yes.
do anything I can. And it's not about what's in it for me, because I believe that this is what,
Yeah.
at the
Very
end of the
good.
day, all of us want to be part of something bigger
Yeah.
than ourselves.
I hope so.
So if I could say anything, I would say, go all in and be willing to truly sacrifice.
Yeah.
Be willing to truly sacrifice, because if you are willing to sacrifice, you will have an owner's mentality.
That's right. That's right. We're out of time, but I actually still have one more we got to get to before we go to the next episode here. But I want to end this really quickly by talking about the third enemy of ownership, which is the myth of the cage. Okay, so let's just go on a journey here. And let's assume that a leader is reasoning with us, saying, okay, I can lead from anywhere. Like I can be a leader and I can be an owner. I can shift to ownership, not what benefits me, but owning what serves other people. I'm going all in for the mission. There's still another problem. Well, there's several more, but there's still another problem lurking. And that's called the myth of the cage. I'm going to read this to you. A full-grown elephant weighs over 10,000 pounds and can uproot trees. Yet circus elephants remain trapped, in quotations, trapped, by a simple rope and stake. Even when offered freedom, these animals with incredible intelligence and strength fail to take it. Why? This is a powerful illustration of the kind of learned helplessness. That's the principle, learned helplessness. First studied by psychologist Martin Seligman, which shows how past limitations can create invisible cages in our minds. That elephant could go free, but it chooses not to. Learned helplessness.
Yeah.
The elephant has the physical strength to break free, but it has been conditioned to believe it cannot. In the same way, many second chair leaders possess far more authority and influence than they realize, yet remain trapped by self-imposed limitations that may no longer be real.
Wow.
So second chair leaders, you join the team, you're an owner, but we still stay in a cage.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call it the cage of hesitation. We get offered a role, a job. And I think from our pastor's seat, I think they would say, I gave you a job.
Yeah.
Run.
Yeah.
Go for it. But somewhere along the way, we learn limitations in the second chair.
Yeah.
Is this a decision I can make or not? Can I step up and own this? Or do I need to check with the manager? Do I need to check with somebody? Can I answer this question? Can I, and so second chair leaders, when I started researching for this book, the number one thing I heard from second chair leaders was hesitation. I don't know what I can do.
Yeah.
I think it's prone. I think the second chair is prone to this
Yeah.
problem. Would you guys agree? I mean, I think it's inherent. You're under someone else's authority. So it's reasonable to wonder.
Yeah.
But Clay Scroggins in his book, How to Lead When You're Not in Charge, talks about the invisible myth. And he basically says, I came to realize the myth was not real, didn't exist.
Yeah.
It only existed in my mind. So my question for you, just your journey in the second chair, have you ever hesitated?
Oh,
Have you ever led with hesitation, and
sure.
why? Why when you've been given a role, given something, and you have the heart to own, why do we still hesitate?
Yeah. You used some language in the book, and even in the description of, the stake and the rope that's tied to the elephant's leg of a past limitation. And I think so oftentimes we pull a truth out of a past experience, a hurt, a miscommunication, a misunderstanding, whether that was lack of clarity or whatever the reason may be. But we pulled some truth out of there that we now believe. And, I've walked through that with my pastor, served with my pastor for going on 15 years now. And, when you're with anyone for that amount of time, those things can happen. And I remember vividly years ago having a situation where there was misunderstandings, miscommunication about my role. Years would fast forward by, and there were times where he was relying on me to lead in a heavy way for him. And I hesitated. I was afraid to make decisions. I was afraid to own the moment because I believed the truth of what happened years ago, that I didn't carry the authority that I thought I did. I didn't have the role, right? That I wasn't as valuable to the team. Therefore, my voice didn't matter. And so because of that, I quitted. I quit very quietly. I became a quiet quitter. Not even without even realizing, I just kind of began to shrink into the background. And I think that's true for so many people, that something happened in your past. Someone spoke something over you. There was a hurt that was experienced, that there was never healing found. And out of that, you believed a lie that is now, you're still tied to that stake from years ago. You're tied to that stake that you've believed in your mind. And we rob ourselves of the leadership potential that I believe not just God's calling out of us, but that our pastors or maybe our leader, whoever we directly may report to, desperately needs from us.
Very good.
I'll say I love that you're doing this and talking about this because I'm experiencing it here real time. I'm sitting here just listening in amazement to every single one of y'all. And I've watched y'all and listened to y'all on many of the podcasts, and thank you for inviting me to this. And I'm just sitting there going, wow, yeah, me too. Wow, yeah, I agree. Wow. And then you get in your own head after a while and you realize, or I realize, I hadn't said anything yet. And it's just from this point of amazement. But then you get in your own head and you hesitate. And I'm like, oof, maybe they can just edit me out. Because I mean that, I'm not trying to be it's seriously, I'm amazed by this. And there's those little moments where it pulls you back to say, oh, maybe I should just, maybe I'm not meant to be here. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think leaders live in that all the time.
All the time.
Come on.
All the time.
Yeah.
I think it's bumping ahead with someone in authority. I think being mistreated by a fellow team member.
Yeah.
Your own maybe personal journey of feeling underqualified, worthless. I mean, you just name all the things we navigate. We're just prone to it.
Yeah.
And
we're prone to hesitation.
It's the lies that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right? Sometimes the past thing we're hanging on to is something that we have, it's been very self-inflicted from an insecurity or the way that we view ourselves.
I'm going to try not to get into solutions here because we got a lot of conversations to come.
Got to leave it alone.
But initiative will unlock the cage.
Come on.
And I think if a second chair leader can learn proper aligned initiative, it can set you free.
Yeah.
To be able to act. And quite frankly, we have a major gap right now. Too few people doing too much. And I know leaders don't want to carry what they're carrying, but they're just hesitating to give it away, empower somebody, make a call, make a decision. And our pastors and our churches, and quite frankly, the gospel just need more from us in that way. We're going to land it here. We're going to kind of like, you've been watching the movie and you just got to the to be continued. There's no resolution here. There's no ending. We're going to continue the conversation on the next episode and talk about 3 more enemies. And we're just setting the tone. And I hope helping you create some urgency around why we have to get ownership right in our churches. Why do we have to address it? Why is now the time? I truly believe if we can identify these things and spot it, it's the first step to creating owners in God's house. So Leading Second Podcast, we love you. ... To be continued. We will see you on the next episode.
It's our honor to serve churches and leaders across the globe. We equip ministry leaders with the coaching, events, and resources needed to embrace their calling, get it right with their pastor, and lead in an uncommon way. You can visit our website, leadingsecond.com, to learn more about how we can come alongside you as you lead from the middle, from the second chair, for the second chair.